What's up everybody? Justin at S&K Greenhouse, and today I'm showing you guys some spectacular conifers for your landscape. If you need a special tree to kind of spruce things up, or whether you need something small in a tight space or you need something large to fill up a big space, I've got some amazing plants. Some we've never had before and I've never talked about on the channel, like this Picea abies limey. Yeah, I'm jumping right into it. This tree is awesome. It kind of looks like the Skylands Oriental spruce, but this is actually a Norway spruce, Picea abies. They call it limey because of this beautiful lime color that's very pronounced when that new growth hits. This will grow into a medium-sized tree. Now, when I say medium-sized trees, that's going to be somewhere in the 12 to 25 foot range. Large trees are going to be 25 feet plus, and a smaller tree I'm going to call 10 foot and below. Right here's another medium-sized tree. This is an Atlas cedar. So you've seen the tall, standard Atlas cedars that get pretty large, like 30, 40 feet tall. This is Hortsman Atlas cedar. So it's going to stay a little bit smaller, somewhere in that 12 to 15 foot range. I love the gaps between the needles, this blue silvery foliage. Just put it in some well-draining soil and you're going to do okay. All right, speaking of special and rare trees, you got to check out this tree. This is the monkey puzzle. Yes, this thing is awesome. I haven't had them in a while. Monkey puzzle is a type of Chilean pine. This will get larger, somewhere in that 25, 30 foot range, but it is a slow grower. But don't grab it or touch it too much. It's pretty prickly enough that birds won't even land on it. But as it gets mature, these bottom limbs kind of fall off. It makes a nice little canopy, and these limbs almost become snake-like. And when they get some maturity to them, they are gorgeous. Now, if the monkey puzzle gets a little too big, you should consider the Pinus sylvestris penguin. Pinus sylvestris is a Scotch pine or a European red pine. And what I love about this one, it kind of grows like a dwarf Alberta spruce. But those are boring. Everybody has those. But not everybody has a green penguin. This thing is slow. It's unusual to see one this large in a container. It will grow up about 5 or 6 feet. Year-round, dark green needles. And maybe about 3, 4 feet wide. Up next, we got a deodar cedar called Divinely Blue, and it does have a bluish tinge to it. This is going to be a medium-sized tree. It's the one I planted in my landscape near my steps, and I absolutely love the weeping form. This one is also, again, probably going to get in that 6 to 8 foot range, maybe 4 to 5 foot wide, and just make sure it's in well-draining soil with about 6 hours of sun, and it's a treat year-round. So back up this way, I want to show you an Oriental spruce called Goudy. Goudy's a medium-sized tree. We're in the South here. We're in Shelby, North Carolina, and we have to be careful about what conifers we plant around here, especially spruces, but the Oriental spruce is outstanding. Never had problems with it. I love the gaps between the branches on this. As it gets taller, in that 15, 20 foot range, it's just absolutely stunning. But not as stunning as the Niagara Falls pine. This is a type of weeping pine, a Pinus strobus. Pinus strobus being an eastern white pine. Now with this one, it's gonna take up a life of its own. It's a weeping pine. You train this leader to kind of go out this way or this way. You can take these branches and make them go down. If you're doing like a rock garden and you don't need something too tall, this is a really cool specimen. Over here, another type of pine, except for this is a Bosnian pine called compact gem. I love compact gem. If you need, let's say you have a tighter space where you need something with some height, but not a lot of width. Compact gem is great. It'll get up in that 10, 12 foot range. Dark green needles if you want to come in and look at these needles. They're kind of stiff, but they're very long. I don't know, it just has a really unique look. It's similar to the Bosnian pine called Irish Bell. Irish Bell is kind of like the compact gem, except for it stays much shorter, kind of a fat pyramidal shape, wider at the bottom, maybe 6-8 feet, but it only gets about 7-8 feet tall. It will kind of taper like this. Again, a squatty pyramidal shape. I think it's absolutely stunning. Ooh, right here, we got a weeping blue spruce. This is just a standard weeping blue spruce, Picea pungens pendula. Again, this is one of those plants that you can just kind of shape however you want. Right now they got it trained up the bamboo. That keeps a nice straight leader. But when you're ready for it to just take a character of its own, you remove that leader and it definitely will do so. Up next, we have another deodar cedar. This one's called Silver Mist, and you can kind of see why. It's got that silvery, creamy look to it. I love this type of conifer because it's not green, it's not gold, it's not blue. It's kind of in a color category of its own. It's very unique. I have one planted at our sign that's very similar called Snow Sprite. Sorry, it left me there. And what I love about these cedars is they can take full sun, but they can also take a good bit of shade. And actually in a shady area, this color just really pops. Of course, we got the good old standby. You know, I've talked about the Fat Albert Colorado Blue Spruce so many times on the channel. This is the one you want to grow if you're in the South. If you want that, you know, medium-sized Rocky Mountain look, or maybe you just love conifers and you want something with a bluish tinge, this is what you want to plant. I've got one down at our sign I'm going to show you in a moment that just looks outstanding. It's been there for 7 years. It's right on the highway and it does great. Now right here is Chamaecyparis nucentensis green arrow. So what's different about this? So a standard Alaskan weeping cedar, sorry, is going to get large. It's going to get 25 feet, maybe 15 feet at the bottom. Green arrow stays very narrow, so it's only going to get a few feet wide, but still get the height, maybe 20, 25 feet tall. I love this one for a tight space, maybe a corner planting. And if you want to back on up through here, this looks very similar, but this is the standard weeping Alaskan cedar. This is going to grow into a full-size specimen, 25 feet tall, maybe 15 feet wide. Weeping foliage all year round. Just looks beautiful. Now, I talked a little bit about oriental spruces for the South. Another spruce that I found to be bulletproof is the Omarica spruce. And that's a Serbian spruce. And I have a couple here. This is Gotelli weeping. It's got pendulous branches. Will grow up as probably a medium-sized to large-sized tree. Good if you have a lot of space. It's got this silvery foliage on the bottom, kind of more darker green on the top. But I like this one so much. This is another Omarica spruce, Serbian spruce. This one's Pendula bronze. And what I love about it is it stays narrow, it grows up tall, but this top leader will develop a life of its own. Sometimes they will turn this way and grow for a little bit, then turn back up. They might grow this way. I've just seen these in all kinds of funky shapes, and it's one of my favorites. And right in front of it is a new spruce that I haven't had before, new to me. It's a gold-tipped oriental spruce. So it's kind of like that Gowdy I showed you, but what's neat about this is the new growth that comes off the ends is gold. So in the springtime, it is stunning. It's similar to the firefly. And while we're on the topic of oriental spruces, I'll just show you the firefly and the skylands over here. So right here is Picea orientalis firefly. This is one of my best-selling conifers for good reason. First of all, it's compact. It's more of a smaller conifer. It will get eventually 6 to 8 feet tall, but it only grows 3 or 4 inches a year. It's very slow. But the reason you want this tree is for the new growth. It just gets covered in these neon yellow pieces of new growth all over it, and that's why they call it the firefly. But if you want something like this, but you want it to get bigger, then you can go with the Skylands Oriental spruce. This is Picea orientalis Skylands, and this is, so Firefly came off a witch's broom of Skylands, and this was grafted into a little dwarf conifer. Skylands gets like a full-size conifer. It's going to get 25, maybe even 30 feet tall, 15 feet wide roughly. Beautiful stately specimen, year-round gold color. All right, I'm going to take you through this row, and there's a lot to go here, so I'm going to kind of go quick. This is a Norway spruce, Picea abies, called Pumilla, and it's almost like a ground cover. It's only going to get a couple feet tall. It's going to spread 4 or 5 feet wide. So great for tight spaces, or great if you need a low growing conifer. Same with this one. This is Pinus densiflora. So densiflora is a Japanese red pine. This one's called Low Glow, and it's probably one of my favorite Japanese red pines. Again, it's kind of going to grow in a mounding fashion. I love the light green needles. They almost kind of have a goldish tinge to them, and that's why they call it Low Glow. This is Pinus koreanensis. So this is a Korean pine, and I don't even think I've really ever mentioned Korean pines on the channel before, but I need to because they are very pest and disease resistant. This one's called Blue Ball. It's just going to grow in a ball shape. Very bluish green needles, super tight and compact. I mean, and also very soft. So if you need a dwarf little conifer, this one's excellent and slow growing, so you're not ever going to be pruning it really. And then this is Blue Shag. This is another eastern white pine. This is going to grow into a big, huge ball shape. I've got this one at the house. I love the soft foliage. That's what I love about eastern white pines. They just have like a nice pillowy foliage. This one's going to keep a blue color year round. Oh, I got a hillside creeper here. This is another Scotch pine. This is like really great in rock gardens, or really great if you need to have something that's creeping along in a landscape. I highly recommend this one. When they get maturity to them, they look awesome. Right back here we have a Pinus mugo. This one's called Slow Mound. And Slow Mound is exactly as the name suggests. It's a slow growing mounded mugo pine. I love those little candles, especially in the springtime. They're very pronounced. They look awesome. Let's back on up to the Pinus parviflora Goldilocks. All right, Goldilocks is going to turn colors in the wintertime. It's going to turn more gold. If you come on in, you can see the tips are already turning gold. What I like about this pine is that it fits odd shapes. So sometimes you see them growing almost like a seesaw. You can kind of train them to have an irregular shape. You can make them fit some crazy spaces, and I just like it because it's unique. It's irregular. It's just cool. All right, right here we have another Pinus parviflora Japanese white pine, a blue short needle Japanese white pine. This will get up about 15 foot, maybe even 20 foot over time. This will have some longer gaps in between the branches, which kind of allows you to see through it. It's kind of a neat looking pine. Very hardy in our zone too. Matter of fact, if you watch our tours with Bruce Duncan, he's got one of these on the corner of his house. It's probably 8 feet tall or something like that. And it's one we always talk about. It's a really good one. A pine I've never had before. This is White Thorst. This is a Schwerin pine. I think it's from Germany. It's got the softest pillowy foliage I probably have ever seen. This will get about 15, 20 foot tall. Eventually maybe 10, 12, maybe even 15 foot tall. I mean wide. Probably won't get that way here, but this is just a graceful pine. It's kind of got a bluish texture to it, and probably one of my favorite pines out here. but not as much as the Pinus wallachiana zebrina. You don't have to roll your tongue. I just did that to be fancy. Zebrina is probably the most exotic looking pine I have out here. Wallachiana is going to be a Himalayan pine. And yes, you can grow these out here in the south. Again, soft, long needles. That's what I love about these types of pines. You know, they're not stiff to the touch. And, oh my goodness. So if these are getting too big for you, here's another pine that was named after an ancient German city called Westerstede. I think I'm saying that right. It is a Swiss stone pine. This one's going to stay a little more compact, maybe in that 10-12 foot size. So it's a great slow growing specimen. Again, got the bluish green needles. Whew, I keep saying they're all my favorite, but they are. Right here I got a Pinus puce. Yeah, Pinus puce. You know what that is? A Macedonian pine. You know what else it is? Probably the most blue pine I have out here. That is truly blue. I mean like blue. And that's why they call it Pacific blue. This will get about 20 feet tall, so it's going to be a larger medium-sized conifer. Year-round blue color, soft needle, just so unique. We got so many good ones out here. What is, oh yeah, Kinpo. Ooh, if you want to do like an oriental garden, this is another Japanese white pine, and Kinpo has a different growth habit than anything else out here. It's just slightly irregular, slow growing, very short needle, still very soft to the touch, and the needles are kind of twisty. Now let me back on up and let me show you Sarah Rachel. Where are you? Here you are, Sarah Rachel. Again, this is an eastern white pine, and here's what I love about it. A lot of times people are wanting that conifer that it's going to grow 6 foot, 7 foot, and kind of float there, not get too big. Maybe you want to put it on the corner of your house or something. Sarah Rachel is exactly what you want. Just look at this beautiful foliage. I love it. Oh my goodness. We can't forget about Louis. Now Louis is unique. It will get about 12, 15 feet tall, but in the wintertime, when the weather cools off, it's going to turn a bright gold. Now, if you want it to look nice and compact and tidy, you can keep these candles pruned in the springtime. That's when you want to prune a pine. Or you can just let this thing kind of go. It'll be a little bit more loose in texture. And even this time of year where it's not quite cold yet, it's just beautiful. Oh my goodness. I'm going to talk about 2 conifers in a row that's going to give you red cones. So get ready to write this down. This is Picea abies acrocona. It's a medium-sized tree. It's going to get about 10, 12 feet tall, 6, 8 foot wide. Not necessarily a weeping Norway spruce, but it is a Norway spruce with somewhat pendulous branching. Dark green color, just very unique. And the cones in the springtime are what you want to grow this for. They are gorgeous. Now, that was a spruce. Let me show you a pine with red cones. Another pine that I've not talked about on the channel, Pinus parviflora Bergman. Yes, another Japanese white pine. It's outstanding. Even when it doesn't have the red cones that you see in the springtime that make this thing absolutely beautiful, it contrasts this silvery blue foliage. Come on in and let's just look at it for a second. Look at how it's got like some white and blue needles in it. They're kind of twisty. You can see the cones that had emerged from spring. Now they're brown. This thing is absolutely stunning. It is a smaller type of conifer, probably in our zone 8 or 10 feet. Love it. Now, right beside it, you'd swear they're almost the same plant, but they're not. This is Pinus parviflora AOI. It's spelled AOI. I don't know if it's AOI. I don't know. But look, let's just talk about it for a second. What makes it special is the branching is almost in layers. So you'll have a layer here, and about a foot up, you'll have another layer, and so on and so forth until this thing grows in that 10 to 15 foot tall range. Another Japanese white pine. This one's got larger cones if you want to come in and see them. They're gorgeous. And I love the beautiful blue silvery foliage. Right here we got a Japanese red pine. This one's called Golden Ghost. I just want to tell you about it. Spring and summer is when it looks this good now. Put up a picture of the spring and summer color. They call it Golden Ghost for a reason. This is going to be a medium to larger size pine. Very, very soft foliage, and it's even variegated now. So if you want to come in and look at it, look at that variegated foliage. Green, cream, it's beautiful. Look at this. This is Picea abies pendula. This is a weeping Norway spruce, quite a large one. I think this was in a 20-gallon container. What I love about these is you get to be the artist. So you can see the leaders are already starting to come back down. So that means this specimen in particular will not get any taller. What will happen is the branching will continue to go down. You'll get a nice full plant. If you wanted it to get taller, you could keep on staking it up, but no need to. Just depends on what the situation you have is. And then you get this nice, beautiful dark foliage. This Japanese white pine right here, it's got some riz. I said that for you Gen Zers. This is Fukuzumi. It's a Japanese white pine, and again, sort of irregular shaped. The leader kind of grows out horizontally, so I like it if you have maybe a wider bed, you just want one specimen to kind of fill it up, but you don't want it to get too tall. Check out this one. Bruce, I think people overlook the use of conifers that are shaped like this. They can't quite see the vision when they're putting them out in their landscape.
I agree, Justin.
Kathy, you obviously do, because this just fits this space so perfectly.
And if you just, like want to put a perennial in temporarily till they grow out, because I had just a whole bunch. Yeah, and I've taken all of it and moved it back.
Right beside it, we have the Hoops Blue Spruce. What's special about Hoops? It's the bluest blue of pretty much all the Colorado blue spruces. This one will get probably 20 feet tall, 10 feet wide, something in that range. But you can see just right now, this time of year, it's not spring, we don't have new growth shooting out. Look how blue it is. It's icy blue. And real quick, the reason I keep saying the growth might not be as much here is because in the Pacific Northwest, where these things are grown for the most part, and then they're shipped here to the south, well, in our southern climate, things don't quite grow as fast here. So, for example, you might read online that a Colorado blue spruce is going to grow 40, 50 feet, but you're not going to see that here in the south. And if you're at home and you do have one that big, let me know, because that would be crazy. But so, come on in, I'm going to show you something. From here to here is probably the new growth that this plant put on this year. That is what we call a flush. In the south, you'll see this happen around May. All of a sudden, your conifer will look dormant, and then boom, you get a flush. Well, out in the Pacific Northwest, you might get 2, 3 flushes in a single year, and that's why they get so much bigger out there. All right, look, this is a Canadian hemlock, Tsuga canadensis. This one's called Golden Splendor. It is a slightly medium to larger size tree, maybe 20 feet tall. It's basically a gold Canadian hemlock. It's beautiful, going to have a pyramidal shape. What I love about hemlocks, you can grow them in a good amount of shade. Unlike a lot of these pines I'm showing you that need, minimum 6 to 8 hours of sun. So if you have a shady spot and you want a conifer, check out hemlocks. Here's another one. This is Tsuga canadensis pendula. So this is a weeping hemlock, and you can take this leader and do whatever you want with it. Do you want to train it up and grow it up into a larger size tree? Do you want to train it back down so that it doesn't get any taller? You can do either one. Oh my goodness, I forgot about these. Now I want to show you the bigger ones. Move just this way. Oh, this is basically a weeping Norway spruce that's gold. It's called gold drift, so it's a Picea abies. Again, this you can do what you want with it. If you want it to grow taller, you keep staking it. You can train it to go back down. I've never had gold drift on the property before, so I'm so excited to see it. The new growth is very gold, like much golder than it is right now. Right now it's kind of faded into a green, but you just wait till it's springtime. This plant is so highly overlooked. This is Gold Rider Leland cypress. Now, it don't get quite as big as a normal Leland cypress, but it still will get 25, 30 feet tall. If you've seen my video with Kathy Hornbuckle, she has one of these that she's had planted for years. It's finally got to full maturity, and it just blew my mind when I seen it. It grows very tight, pyramidal, year-round gold foliage. This is a limber pine called Vanderwolf's Pyramid. I've not had this one in a while. It's kind of hard to find, at least for me it is. It does grow in a pyramidal shape as it matures. I want you to come in and look at the needles. It's a variegated white and blue, and they're soft. I love limber pines. It's just stunning. Right back here we have a Pinus strobus pendula. This is just a weeping white pine. Again, some of the softest needles. I could stuff my pillow with this and sleep on it at night. It feels so good. Pinus strobus pendula can be, well, I tell you, I did a tour with William McCraw at his house, and his weeping white pines were some of the prettiest specimens he had. I think he had 2 of them that were almost kind of crossing, but you can take that leader, again, train it how you want, and this thing is just awesome. I got a spruce I've not talked about on the channel before. This is a Bush's Lace Engelmann spruce. It kind of looks weepy, but I don't know if you would necessarily call it a weeping spruce, but the branches are pendulous. They will sprawl along the ground. The leader will grow up probably 20, 25 feet tall. It's got silvery blue foliage, and I think this is one of the most interesting spruces I have, because over time as it matures, it will have like these layers of branches, kind of like I was talking about with that pine, and it's just truly unique. I don't have another spruce that's like it. This is a spring gold Colorado blue spruce. So Picea pungens, spring gold. And even though it says it's gold, the new growth on this in the spring is actually like a creamy white. Now right now it kind of looks like a globe blue spruce, which would be, stay right there. Like this is a standard globe blue spruce. It'll get about 4 feet tall and wide, grows in a nice round ball. But this one, interestingly enough, will develop a leader as it matures, and it will start getting some height on it after it's kind of crawled along the ground. So this is probably one of the most interesting blue spruces I've got on the lot. This is Picea pungens, again, a Colorado blue spruce, and it's called Zyphro. I'm probably butchering that. What I love about it, it's like a dwarf blue spruce. It's very slow growing. So if you like blue spruces, but you want something kind of smaller, this one will stay 6, 7, maybe 8 foot tall eventually. But it kind of starts out growing like a globe blue spruce, so it's pretty interesting. Oh, but if you want more of a pyramidal shaped dwarf blue spruce, this will be the best one I've got out here. This is Sester's blue spruce. It's very slow growing. Will have a beautiful pyramidal shape. Grows kind of like a dwarf Alberta spruce, except for it's way more interesting. This will get about 6 foot tall, 4 feet wide. Want to see something very interesting? This is a Japanese stone pine, okay? It's only going to get about 3 foot tall, 6 feet wide. So it's almost like a ground cover. Woo, very soft needle, green and blue texture with a little bit of gold tinge to it. Very unusual. This is Pinus mugo wintersome, and they call it that because in the wintertime it turns gold, like super gold, which is unusual for a mugo pine. This is a slow grower. It will get in that 4 to 6 foot range, only a few feet wide, so it's great if you have a smaller garden. This is the most stunning, dramatic specimen. If you want a showstopper, you've got to grow the Gold Cascade Deodar cedar. It gets much more wider than tall. It'll stay around 5, 6, 7 feet tallish, but 10, 12 to 15 feet wide. And I've got to put a picture up on the screen because look at it in the springtime. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Looks great now here in the fall. Come in, I'll show you the needles. They're more of a creamy, eye-catching yellow foliage. Can't beat it. Hey, if you like those Serbian spruces and they were just too big, but you want to grow an Omarika spruce, check out De Ruyter. Slightly irregular branching, silvery gray foliage, but this thing's going to cap out in that 6 to 8 foot range, maybe 6 foot wide. So it's a nice little compact conifer, and I bet your neighbors don't have one. Right here we have a white spruce. Yeah, we don't talk about white spruces much. Picea glauca. I've talked about the weeping white spruces before on the channel, but not Max Gold. This is a white spruce that'll get about 15 feet tall or so, but what's neat about it is the new growth in the springtime. Just make it variegated. It's a nice yellow color, and it's beautiful now, but in the springtime, it'll knock your eyeballs out. What is this beautiful tree? Another Tsuga canadensis, a Canadian hemlock. This one's called Summer Snow, and as you can see, the new growth is ivory. Again, hemlocks can be grown in a lot of shade. They don't have to have full sun, so if you got a wooded area, this would be great. Regular pruning is great for this one because it will keep it nice and tight. You can grow it up to about 8, 10 feet tall, 4 or 5 feet wide, so it's more compact than like a typical standard Canadian hemlock. So in a tight space, this thing's awesome. This right here is Pinus mugo pesto. This is a very dwarf conifer, great for rock gardens, excellent for small spaces or walkways, only gets a foot tall, eventually will reach 2 to 3 foot wide, only grows about 2 to 4 inches a year. So believe it or not, this little tiny plant is many, many years old already, which makes it so special and unique. It's so dense, you can't even spread apart the branches. And again, what I love about mugos is in the springtime, their candles look amazing. Well, there you go, folks. This is going to wrap up this conifer tour. There's many more I could talk about, but we would be here for a long time, so I'm going to end it there. Let me tell you something. If you're local or within driving distance of our nursery and you want to come visit, but you want to know when the conifers are coming in and we have the best selection, do me a favor, hit the link in the description. It'll take you to our website. You can sign up for our conifer notification list. That way you can get a message every time a new shipment comes in. And then we can keep you updated. If you're not local, make sure to subscribe to the channel and we will keep you informed on all these beautiful specimens you can grow where you're at. And until next time, become a plant person.